Hello, bro. In Shanghai, everything is within reach, and anything seems possible to make happen. For centuries, as a major city of administration, shipping, and trade, Shanghai has increasingly showcased its existence since Europe recognized its port location and lucrative economic potential in the 19th century. But is that statement still true today? Shanghai is now in turmoil, facing a housing crisis, economic struggles, and other darker sides. Housing crisis. For many migrants coming from villages to Shanghai, living in the big city can be extremely challenging, especially when it comes to finding a place to stay. Most of them don't have permanent residency permits, known as hukou, which means they can't live in places with complete facilities. So they have to survive in unusual ways, such as living in basements or even sewers. In the city center, they often have to share tiny apartments with many people, sometimes more than 10 in a single room. Rent in central Shanghai is extremely high, almost on par with other major cities like New York or London. That's why many migrants choose dorm-like rentals where they can share rooms with others, especially young people studying at universities who plan to work in the city center but can't afford the expensive rent. In 2019, demand for rental housing in Shanghai reached up to 4 million units, while the available supply couldn't keep up. If they don't rent dorms, many are forced to live in the suburbs or in slum areas, places that are cheap but at constant risk of being demolished for development projects. Even though these places are far from ideal, they prioritize shelter as a way to survive. On the other hand, cheap suburban rents make it harder for them to get residency permits, which are important for their children to attend school. It's not uncommon to find many ads offering cheap housing, but in reality, some apartments can have as many as 24 people crammed into one unit, with rent being higher than advertised. All this puts more pressure on the already overcrowded city infrastructure. That's why in 2017, the Shanghai government planned to cap the city's population at 25 million by 2035 to reduce density and improve public services for everyone living in Shanghai. Recession and economic decline. The so-called Magic City, once regarded as the economic heart of China, is now facing major challenges. Known as a place brimming with opportunity and glamour, its key sectors, foreign capital, trade, and real estate, are now struggling. Rising living costs, along with uncontrollable rent hikes, have made many people reconsider staying. In just 1 month, around 380,000 people chose to leave Shanghai. In the past, the city was a magnet for Europeans and Americans, but now its face is changing. Migrants from the Middle East, Africa, and Russia are increasingly filling the city, even though overall consumer spending has sharply declined. There are many rental signs around metro stations, but surprisingly, very few people come to inquire. In real estate, despite huge discounts, sales of secondhand properties have dropped drastically. Last month alone, nearly 250,000 homes were put up for sale. Shopping malls that were once bustling are now eerily quiet, with many businesses on the brink of closure. The exodus of foreign capital is believed to be the main driver of this crisis. By mid-2024, more than 12,000 businesses had left Shanghai, and 80% of them were foreign companies. Meanwhile, youth unemployment in China has worsened. Over 1 in 5 of the country's roughly 100 million people aged 16 to 24 are jobless. On top of that, many Shanghai residents are now looking abroad, either to study or simply to find a new life. Outside the US consulate, long lines can be seen almost daily as people queue for visas. In fact, in just the first month of this year alone, a record-breaking 380,000 people applied for documents to leave Shanghai. Marriage market. With financial and economic pressure mounting, what's the situation like in Shanghai's marriage market at People's Park? In Shanghai, there's a unique, some might even say crazy, tradition that's been going on since 2004. Every weekend, People's Park or People's Square fills up with parents, grandparents, and extended family members holding advertisements for their unmarried children. Imagine posters with personal details, age, occupation, education, and more, spread across the park. All of this for one simple goal: finding a partner who meets extremely strict social and material standards. This phenomenon is heavily influenced by Chinese culture, which considers choosing a life partner a serious duty for parents. In this market, love is secondary. What matters most is whether the potential spouse already owns an apartment and comes from a respectable family background. Those who become the main targets here are usually between 26 and 35 years old. Men with stable jobs and property are the top picks, while there are also many single women, with a striking gender ratio of 1 man for every 5 women. Even though the odds are slim, many parents remain persistent. Some show up every single weekend in hopes of finding the perfect match for their child. The market is open every day, but it's most crowded on Saturday afternoons, the prime time for parents to arrange introductions and plan dates for Sunday. The best fake markets. Aside from the dramatic marriage market, Shanghai also has another fascinating scene: the counterfeit goods market. Known as the Paris of the East, the city is a true haven for fake or imitation products. The huge demand for luxury goods that many people can't afford leads them to opt for cheaper replicas instead. For bargain hunters looking for luxury styles without breaking the bank, these markets are almost irresistible. However, behind the attractive offers, quality is often questionable. Some products, especially electronics, carry high risks as they may not meet safety standards. Imagine a device with the wrong voltage or faulty components. It could be dangerous. The most famous spot is Epi Plaza, located in the basement of the Shanghai Science and Technology Museum. Epi Plaza is the city's largest and most popular fake market, offering all kinds of counterfeit goods, especially replica designer products. For those hunting branded bags or labeled clothing, this place is a must visit. There's also the Kipulu clothing market, popularly known as Cheap Street. This is a paradise for fashion lovers seeking trendy clothes at affordable prices. Replica designer brands can be found on every corner, making it extremely busy and popular. From clothing to shoes, accessories to bags, everything is here. But behind the low prices and endless variety, these markets carry negative impacts, not only hurting legitimate businesses, but also posing legal risks, especially for buyers who unknowingly purchase fakes. If you plan to resell them abroad, the consequences could be serious. On top of that, counterfeit markets are often linked to organized crime networks, making their impact even greater. Air pollution. Another major challenge Shanghai faces is air pollution, which has become a serious issue and can't be taken lightly. The city's air quality is often poor, mainly due to fine particles and nitrogen dioxide emitted from industrial activities, transportation, and heavy construction. The city's geographic location and high population density make air pollution even more concentrated in one massive area. And with so many skyscrapers, ventilation is limited. As a city of nearly 30 million people, it's no surprise that Shanghai's traffic is heavily congested. Every day, motor vehicle emissions release large amounts of nitrogen dioxide and carbon monoxide, worsening pollution. Even though the Chinese government has started shifting toward cleaner energy sources, coal-fired power plants are still widely in operation, continuing to release harmful gases like sulfur dioxide and fine particles into the air. As a major industrial hub, Shanghai also has numerous factories, particularly in chemicals, metals, and construction, that contribute to air pollution. As a result, many people in Shanghai, especially those sensitive to poor air quality, often suffer from respiratory issues such as asthma, chronic cough, bronchitis, respiratory infections, Tiny PM 2.5 particles can penetrate deep into the lungs and even enter the bloodstream, raising the risk of heart disease and stroke. Chronic air pollution can also weaken the immune system, making people more vulnerable to infections and other illnesses. Well bro, thank you for watching this video until the end. We'll meet again in the next episode with a different topic. So keep supporting this channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. And don't forget to share it with your friends, so they'll know what you know. Thank you.